Well, welcome to Bright Ideas. I am Jess Duemig, the host of Bright Ideas, and today I have a very special guest. I'm here with John Franzone. John, how are you?
Hello, America. How are you, Jess? Good to see you.
I'm good. Thank you for being on the podcast today. Super excited to talk to you because we've chatted, but we've never really gone deep. So this will be a fun little bit.
Excellent. Looking forward to it here. Let's get it cracking.
Let's get it cracking. Showtime, baby. All
Yeah.
right. So
Showtime. Our curtain goes up on time.
there we go.
I
So
don't have a
tell
ch- I don't
me.
have a choice most nights.
True story. So talk about that. Tell us your background. Give us a brief synopsis of the 80 million things that you do at Emily Arena.
Um, Shoot. We are myself and my department effectively. We're in charge of everything that interrupts the game. That's the best way to say it. Everything that a fan experiences, sees, listens to, and it starts outside on the plaza. And we will do our best to entertain and keep people buzzing out there. And then they take that energy inside, and then we take over from there with the lights, the sounds, the music, the announcers, the hosts, the mascot, the DJs, the videos, the scoreboard, the graphics, the lights, everything, start to finish. That is an experiential element to your game night experience. And we have a game night crew of about 60 to 70 people, including the kids who shoot the t-shirts, the blue crew, um, who basically execute, produce, create content for, stage manage, um, everything that we can potentially affect in a positive way to make your game night experience just as memorable as possible. So that's effectively our mission. I'm looking right now at a little sign that stares me in the face every day here. It's called Make a Memory. And at the end of the day, that's what this department is charged with manufacturing. Because that hockey ticket is a value proposition. You're coming to a hockey game, you expect to see, you know, 20 players against 20 players. But what we can enhance around that competition when there's a break in the action or an intermission or pregame, that's where we go to work. That's what we hold to heart. It could be the one game you'll ever come to in your life, and we want to make that as impactful, as positive as possible. Our predominant, and I don't want to sound like a business plan here, but our predominant mission every game night is to entertain, engage, and inspire. And in some capacity, at some point between the time you walk in the door and the time you leave, we hope we've hit the mark in a couple of those areas so that you take something away, you remember something from your experience. That's beyond just the razzmatazz we do when we turn the lights out. We have a community hero every night. We have a military hero every night. We have milestones. We have some great players right now. We are in the golden age of Lightning hockey with great players like Kucherov and Hedman and Point and Vazzy and so many others, that we celebrate their achievements, and we're proud to do it. Soon enough, hopefully, we get to another Stanley Cup final and we can celebrate one of those. But that's kind of our ball of wax right there in a nutshell. If that
It's a
makes any
very
sense at all.
it's a very large ball of wax in a gigantic nutshell. I mean, the Lightning have probably one of the best, if not the best, game presentations that I've ever experienced as a fan and even as a staff member, as far as you can call me as a stand-in PA announcer. But I mean, you guys do a fantastic job. I am blown away because I typically produce and am somewhat responsible for the in-game show for Gasparilla Bowl and some of the neutral site bowl games. And as much as we want to do, I mean, it's one game once a year, two teams we only find out about 2 weeks before the game. Um, and a whole lot that we have to get into that one opportunity. And we do it with a skeleton staff. I mean, that's completely about the bottom line. I mean, we're not trying necessarily to build lifelong Gasparilla Bowl fans. We're trying to enhance that life of the student athletes, and the fans kind of are like the secondary audience for the purpose of the bowl games themselves. But what you guys are doing with the Lightning, I mean, every game I've been to a few games now that they're all the same, but they're so different. And so you know exactly what you're going to get when you go to a Lightning hockey game. but it's still surprise and delight every time. I know it's going to be a phenomenal show. I know the music's going to be on point. I know it's going to be fun and exciting. And of course, the hockey parts of it are there too. Um, but yet, every game feels just a little bit different, which is really cool.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we aim to accomplish because right now as I have a business plan here somewhere on my messy desk, but um, we'll start at the 30,000 foot view of what our season's going to look like as our team sort of comes together, free agents in, we lose some players, teams takes on a little bit of a different identity, especially this year when we didn't have Steven Stamkos for the first time ever, right?
Yeah.
So now you have a different story to tell. But that aside, your words are kind, but it's been born over time. When I
Yeah.
first got here, I like to say that this department was a me and a laptop, in the sense of bringing in a new vision. And then we hired one person, then we hired somebody else, then we brought on another, then we're doing more content. Now our full-time staff, because of the shows we do, our video staff does an amazing Emmy award-winning job creating shows like Recharge and Bolt's Beginnings and New and Blue and the Block Party podcast that Greg Wolf hosts. Those are all on our YouTube channel, where our subscriber base now is I think we increased it like 200%. We're up to like 200 something. I'm not going to get into the numbers, but into
Yeah.
into the millions, which is amazing. So our YouTube, the demand for content these days has just grown exponentially thanks to social media and other channels, streaming channels, and so forth. Um, so we've grown over time. And to your point, we do try to give you that same experience, but there's always going to be something new and different. New spices in the stew. It could be a theme night. It could be, like I said earlier, player milestones that we're going to celebrate, special moments that the fans might not even know about that are going to pop up uh,
Right.
through our community relations department. Sometimes there's an honorary bat kid, an honorary captain. That goes back to my 20 years in baseball. I'll get to
Yeah.
that. But there'll be an honorary captain that might unfortunately be a young kid who is battling a disease like cancer or some other malady that has put him on a hard spin, and we try to give him a night out to remember, and by virtue of that, connecting 20,000 people to him. Uh,
Right.
and it's a remarkable moment when everybody stands up and you forget you're at a hockey game. You
Hmm.
just it's just this outpouring of love because this sort of town is way more conducive to that than some others I've been in. But in any event, so we try to maximize the privilege of using a game presentation as a means to celebrate everything that's sort of right about Tampa Bay, to show what our brand is all about. Um, because our brand at the end of the day is representative of, Mr. Vinnick, who's made just an immense difference, not just to this team, but also this town.
Yeah.
So we try to be respectful of that, representative of that, and celebrate that as well at the same time. So your point is I'm glad you said it because that's exactly what we shoot for is to you know what you're going to get, but there might be some new things that you didn't see coming, and that makes me happy to hear you say that. So thank you.
Yeah, no, and I mean, obviously, I know what I'm looking for as opposed to some of the fans who probably don't realize that they feel that same way. So, I mean, I'm always blown away by, in Tampa where we are, obviously, there's a lot of competition for people's attention, right? Whether it's there's two, three, four major music venues. There's three very, very different level stadium arena style, venues that for all intents and purposes could be in competition with each other all night or every night, not to mention now that the Rays are over on this side of town, the solstice in November when almost every sport is playing. Um, and then just the fact that we're in Florida and there's a beach 20 minutes away, right? There's always something else you could be doing
Yeah,
than going to a Lightning game, a Bucks game, a Bulls game,
sure.
whatever. And the number of fans that get there, not only in their seats, but outside the arena too. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool because I mean, and granted, I mean, hockey fans are insane. Hockey fans are a league of their
I
own
didn't say that, folks. I'm just pointing that out right now.
in the best possible way. They are a league of their own, both figuratively and literally, and they're nuts, and it's beautiful. It's so cool to be around people. You can't help but get pumped when you go out there. I mean, winning Stanley Cups doesn't hurt. I
No,
mean,
no, those
you
are
know,
that's what we shoot for, right? Is to be the last one standing. But
absolutely
you hit the mark where you say that hockey fans are crazy. It's I don't know if it's crazy is the right word or nuts or whatever, but it's more like they are deeply in love with
passionate.
they are deeply in love with their team and their players. And that's exactly what our role is on the game presentation side. I say it every year, especially when we're pitching with new partners or we have new employees here. I said, this is not about us. This will never be about us. We are not the thing. The game is the thing. Our job here is to be glue. And when I say glue, it's to basically just really connect our fans and strengthen their love affair with their favorite team and their favorite players. That's our role here is to be connective tissue. And we have that, like I said earlier, there's a variety of ways we can go about doing it. We can have like great, amazing blackout pump pieces that get your blood, pumping to get the team onto the ice. We can have really touching stories that, will run up there in the intermission. We can do it through statistics. We can do it through milestone moments. We can do it through fun features like the kiss cam or the spot the cow. But by the end of the night, from 8 to 80, regardless how old you are, regardless of what race you are, regardless of what your leave all that at the door. We are
Yeah.
just our job here is to just connect you to your favorite players and your favorite team, and we use the game presentation platform to do it. And it boils down to one sentence that Todd Lewicki, our former CEO, told me when I first met him. He said, "Never forget this. Game presentation is the ultimate manifestation of your brand." Boom. I've been doing sports for 20 years, but the light bulb went off and I said, now I know what my job is all about.
Hmm.
Because it's real easy to put some graphics and videos up on that screen and think it's all about you
Yep.
because, suddenly your work is up in front of 20, 30, 50,000 people and you think, oh, I'm a genius. It's all me.
Yeah.
And
Everybody,
then,
look how good I look.
right, right. And then you sort of take a step back from that. You look at it, and that video board at the end of the day is 1/20th of what a fan is going to experience when they come through your door. And now
Right.
you sort of see what your charge is all about. And now that's it's a philosophy, it's a religion, it's what we live and breathe. And once you subscribe to that, making the creative choices around it becomes really very clear. Because the sandbox you have to play in, and then the sandbox that if you want to step out of that sandbox, it needs to be a calculated risk
Right.
because you've established such a purpose to your game night. If that makes sort of philosophical sense, I guess.
Yeah, I think it totally does. I mean, it's a canvas and you have that opportunity to surprise and delight people on a bi-weekly sometimes basis, which is a super fun thing and it's pretty heavy load to carry too. So let's do this. Break down for me because you said you have a staff of 60, and I know that includes a lot of people, but how do you kind of manage overseeing all of what goes on? Because you're not a micromanager. Everything I've ever experienced with you is not like, oh, dude, oh, move this one little pixel that way. Like you're not that guy. Um,
No, but I used to be
yeah.
because, like I said earlier, we started with a very very small staff, and then over time we've added people and young people who then started here when they were some of them were volunteers out of college,
Hmm.
but they learned, I don't want to say it's my way, but they learned our way of doing things, and now they're in positions to not only direct those departments of video and graphics and production, but now start teaching that to their people. So it's kind of like trickling down. So now I know I have trusted lieutenants in other spots here to carry that mission. So it's very easy in that respect, or there's a trust factor that I know I'm in good hands. So a video person will say to me, "You want to take a look at this edit?" And I'm like, oh, "No, I got you. I trust you. Let's go
Yeah.
next," because we have so much volume here to get ready for a game night,
Right.
or other projects. We also do projects internally for the company, for the organization, and we have to turn those in the same sort of fashion with the same sort of treatment and the same sort of attention to detail that we would for a game night. So the trust factor plays big. I have three lieutenants here who, from a longevity standpoint, bring 30 plus years of combined experience with this
Wow.
organization because they grew up with it. They went through the tough times. They enjoyed the winning. They celebrated the cups. They have their rings. So they're very as protective of that. I'm pointing to a Lightning logo you folks can't see right now. They're very protective of that logo, because they know the sweat. They appreciate all the sweat equity they put into defining what it means, at least as far as what our department can affect. So, all that being said, my role really here on game night is to just be a rudder for them. And I will eyeball the building and just give them little, big picture views of how things play or how things sound, where we have some holes in the boat that, we need to patch. Sometimes I'll even edit highlights for the out of town games if our video, never too big to be humble. If our video guys are pinched and they don't have enough bodies to do that, I'll even pick up a camera if I have to. I'd rather not, but because it's going to be very shaky. But you get the idea. Like, no job is too small here, and,
Totally.
and it may not even translate to my department. I might walk the building and our stuff's going just fine, but I'll see other fires that need to be put out, and I'll tell those departments responsible for that. So experientially, I'm able to see the building and the overall for what it is. I must log maybe 26,000 steps nearly every game night, walking the building.
That's
Uh,
great.
but you have to see it for what it is. It's not just that big screen in the middle of the arena.
Right.
It's everything. So that's predominantly what my game night role is. And then there's the administrative side of it as well, which is the budget, which is doing the business plans, which is being involved in everything, that's coming down the road with our new broadcast partner, in Scripps, um, and creating content to support the other avenues of the business. I'll intercept a chunk of that. Felicia on our team, Felicia Sablon, who she
Mhm.
directs our games. She'll intercept a lot of that. We'll work together on that stuff. I'll work with Stephen Fry, who was your producer on game night when you were here. Stephen
Yep.
Stephen handles the bulk of the organizing and working with partnership for all the elements you see in the game, and then putting it in some order that makes sense so that when we play it out, it kind of like has a good flow to it. And he's done a great job there. And then Gabe Marte is the other member of our team. He's our video director, and he leads a staff of 4 or 5 talented shooter editors who go around capturing the game night footage. And not just for us, but also for the broadcaster as well. We'll share content with them. That's a lot, but to have those three
Yeah.
trusted lieutenants is we worked hard to get to this point, and the benefits are just showing. We got our scores in an NHL ticket buyer survey recently, and we came in second in the NHL in in-game entertainment, second only to Vegas, which is great company to be in for sure.
Yeah.
But their budget is more than twice what ours is. So I'll take that any day.
Yeah, I mean they're still on the startup swing kind of. I mean they're 4 years or 5 years old maybe now, I
Oh,
think.
they're 7 years old and they
Oh,
won a
they're
cup.
7.
Yeah. But you have to remember they got an Elvis impersonator on every street corner.
Oh,
So
that's true.
you got to compete with that. So they've got an amazing stage. They've got full-time ice projection. They've got the dancing girls with the feathers who come down the aisles during the warm-ups. It's a spectacle because it has to be. They got, the
Right.
Mirage next door to the left and the Bellagio to the right. So,
Right.
just like we have to compete with beaches and a great downtown nightlife, and they've got to compete with that. So they've that's a job. Like that's something that you have to respect. So to be in their company for like 4 straight years, we'll take that.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to attend a panel discussion with their CEO. And what I found really interesting about that is they actually put a ticket fee on every ticket, $2 or $3, to specifically outlined for the upkeep and I think they call it like an innovation fee. And so every single game, which is almost always sold out because it's Vegas and it's hockey in Vegas, hockey in the desert. They net essentially 30,000 times $2 or $3 every single game that is earmarked, we can't use that word, but whatever, specifically back to upgrades, entertainment, constantly making sure that they are not that they're like preview state of the art.
Yeah.
And so when I heard him say that, I thought, as a fan, I don't want to pay that, but as a fan, I kind of want the benefits of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the interesting thing. And in the survey, we were almost neck and neck with them in terms of season ticket members, the people who come every night.
Right.
Literally, neck and neck. Where they jump up is in single game buyers who might be coming for one time, and therein lies the point you just made, which is the spectacle of it all.
Sure.
When you have the sphere 2 blocks down from your arena, wherever it is, I haven't been there yet. That's a lot to compete with. So
Yeah.
you have to invest in that. We're a little bit more modest, but our screen still looks great. Our sound system was just replaced 2 years ago. When we do the playoffs, we go all out with lighting and projection. We invested in the new signs out front, the digital signage,
Those are super cool. The 3D
we
thing is
yeah, they
nuts.
look great, right? So we do add as well, but we don't have to keep up with the Joneses right down the block. We have to keep
Right.
up with, say, Amalie Arena or Amarant Bank Arena down in Sunrise, or an arena in Atlanta, so to speak. Where the Hawks still play. I don't follow NBA, so
Yeah, I don't
or
either.
the Dallas Stars. Like that's kind of like the Nashville.
Sure.
Even Nashville has to deal with a lot of entertainment on Broadway, but you get the idea. Like that's kind of our measuring stick.
Right. Yeah. And the other part I find interesting about the Vegas thing too is professional sports in Vegas is kind of a new novelty, right? Up until very recently, you kind of couldn't have professional sports out there. And then obviously when betting became a little bit more mainstream and less corrupt, I'm sure, because it totally is less corrupt, whatever. And they moved the Raiders and they moved now the
Blue
Knights
Jays.
and now the A's are going out there. Yeah. So I mean it's still a novelty to go to a pro sports game in Vegas also. It's a very different feel. And same thing in Tampa though. I mean, we're Tampa Bay for a reason, right? So and obviously the Lightning's a huge part of that. But let's go back because you said you had 20 years in baseball too. Talk us through like how you got your start and then how you got to where you're doing now. Because
Sure.
I mean,
Um,
people want to know.
ooh, boy, I gotta go back in time here. I went to NYU Film School because my aspiration was to become a screenwriter at some point.
Okay.
Um, I was always into movies. Um, you know, I never in a million years expected to veer into sports production. The one caveat there was I grew up a Mets fan, a rabid Mets fan on Long Island, and when I went to NYU Film School, but to make some extra money, I worked in their TV studio at NYU Television, and the engineer there was the same. He would moonlight and do engineering for the Mets, and they were one of the first team to put in a video scoreboard, and they did that in '81. I met him in '84, and he was like, "Hey, they're looking for someone to help out because back then when they put these screens in, they just gave it to whoever could program a VCR. They didn't know what they had bought. They bought the NASCAR, but they didn't buy the drivers. So
Right.
they just sort of handed it off to whoever was remotely technically savvy, because it didn't correlate, sorry, that they were buying a television. They just bought this big electronic scoreboard. So at the time, you show a replay or fans waving, that was enough. That was magic. No one had ever
Right.
seen that before at a ball game, right? But as time went on, like the need for content started to manifest itself. So I guess I was in the right place at the right time and with the right team as the Mets. If you had told me it was the Yankees, I would have said, no way, I'm a Mets fan. I can't do it.
Right.
There's a joke coming, because after I worked with the Mets in '86, which was a World Series year, and I was just a control room assistant. I kept score. I helped the guys with the statistics and put in the right numbers, 0 for 1, base hit, whatever. Um, the following year, my engineer friend at NYU gets a call from the Yankees, and the Yankees are looking for somebody. And I was graduating, and I needed a job quick. And it was either that or roll the dice and go out to LA and grad school at USC, which was in my plans, or at least, thought processes. I don't know if it was in my plans. But in any event, I go to interview with the Yankees, and, here we go. Let's do it. All right. So I commit to a part-time job there, and then ultimately they make me full-time. And had the Mets not gone to the World Series, I probably wouldn't have fell into that magic of creating a video on the day and being able to have it seen 2 hours later, in front of 50,000 people.
Right.
Up until then, that was not a realistic goal.
Well,
Career
it
path,
doesn't hurt when year one is the apex
right? So I'm
of
thinking
your
in my head,
favorite team. I
and I'm,
mean,
I'm thinking it's going to happen every year. This is
yeah.
great. Let's do it. Well, I stayed with the Yankees for 10 seasons. We go through some down years, and then in 94, 95, 96, that's those are some really good years. And 96 was a World Series year. So it was 10 years from the first World Series
Oh my
to the
God.
next.
It's
So
like
I
a
got my World
storybook.
Series ring. I had advanced through the ranks. I think my title there was director of broadcasting and production, or video. Um, and then at that point, I had gotten married, and my wife and I were like, we need to get out of New York. This is not good. And this is '96. I could have stayed there. I could have gotten 3 more World Series rings and been, maybe transitioned over to Yes Network. But we did want to start a family soon after, and we moved to Florida. Got a job at Disney Sports. I helped them for a year to get that complex up and running. But I missed working for the home team, and that buzz you get when you create some content and you play it out in front of a live crowd. And luckily for me, the Rays were starting up. This is '97. The Rays were starting up, and Rick Vaughn, who was their VP of PR and communications, he called. I contacted him, and he's like, "We're 4 months, 5 months from opening day. We don't have a control room. We don't have a scoreboard. We don't have a crew. You want the job?" And he and I are walking across Tropicana Field, and I'm a
Which
baseball
back
guy.
then was what, a basketball arena?
Yeah, it was really
Kind
just a
of.
lot. It was a lot of cement in 1997, and he said to me, "What do you think?" And I'm like, and literally a year prior, I was walking across the outfield at legendary Yankee Stadium, and I said, "It kind of feels like we're going to play in Sam's Club here."
Ooh.
Yeah, it was cold and it was austere. And then, over time, the management there did a great job of making it feel as homey as possible. So I spent 10 years with the Rays as their, I can't remember what my title was there, but it was largely what I had done with the Yankees. And then more so, I started to transition from making content and directing it to being a producer. And I was there for 10 really bad years on the field, but we had such fun creating stuff, because
Yeah.
we knew our season was over the day after opening day. So what's going to get you out of your car in the morning? It was the idea that we were going to give whoever was coming to a Rays game as good an experience as we could possibly give them,
Right.
through some tumultuous times to boot. It wasn't until Mr. Sternberg bought the team that it started to solidify and start to become competitive. But when did I leave the Rays? '07, parted ways with the Rays, and then literally as I was packing my Rays office, I got a call from the Lightning, and the rest
Wow.
is history. Now it's been 17 years here. Traded in a baseball bat for a hockey stick and never looked back. In fact, hockey is such a great sport and so underappreciated that I watch baseball now and I can't. I'm sorry, but I wonder what I was doing for those 20 years. It's, clocks, speed clocks aside, watching the athletes play hockey and seeing these world class specimens just get gassed inside of 50 seconds because that's how hard they have to skate. That's how hard they have to
Right.
hit and shoot and just have that magical tendency. Cooch is a wizard. How he makes those decisions, it's something otherworldly. I can't equate that with standing there with a bat and hoping you hit, and if you hit 3 out of every 10 times, you're a success. So
Right.
I don't think I could ever go back to baseball, but you never say never.
True. It's
But that's my
interesting.
history, folks. I hope it was riveting.
It is riveting, because well, so I did not know you were from Long Island. I kind of assumed, but I grew up on Long Island.
Yeah, I'm from Long
No,
Island. What's it to you?
I can hear it. I didn't
Yeah,
grow up
every
on Long
now and
Island,
then
but I was born
it
up there.
comes out when I get angry.
Where in Long Island?
I grew up in West Islip,
Okay.
which is right the last town you'll hit before you take the Robert Moses Causeway over to Fire Island.
Okay. Yeah, my family's all from Oceanside, so most of them are Met fans.
Yep.
But my dad's a diehard Met fan, doesn't matter. But it's funny you talk about the Rays because I remember that so I was a student at USF around that, like your final years there, and I remember going to the beach to like $5 tickets and
Yeah.
$1 beers or vice versa, whatever it was, and just having a blast. I mean, that was when DJ Kitty made its
Yeah. Yeah.
debut, and the literal Rays tank of like stingrays out in the outfield. It was so fun. It was way too far to drive, but that's a whole other story. But no, it's interesting to switch from such a very slow moving standing around for most of the game sport to one where they don't stop for 20 minutes. I mean, that's absurd. You have your center fielder out there like watching butterflies, which isn't fair to center
Yeah,
fielders,
but I
fine,
mean,
but
it's different. I used to be a student of baseball where I was into every pitch, and I would try to get in that guessing game of what is a batter expecting the pitcher to throw, and then how's the pitcher going to outguess him. So I would play that chess match in my head. So that if baseball's like chess, hockey's like speed checkers,
okay.
where you're not allowed to. As soon as the other guy moves, you have to move. So
Speed
it's
checkers, I love
it's a
that.
little different. And as I transitioned over here, um, coming from all those years in baseball, in terms of calling a game or producing a game, I was like watching pinball. Like how do you call this game? Because we could be having this conversation between pitches, right?
Right.
So, but hockey, it forces you to work with the game, know where you're going to go if something happens, and then being able to communicate that to the rest of your crew very, very quickly and cohesively, so everybody's on the same page. And Stephen Fry, who does that now for me, he does a great job. In fact, he does it better than I, um, in terms of preparation. He's so on top of his details. The difference between Stephen and me is Stephen is kind of like a conductor with notes, and he has all his notes for his orchestra, and I'm more of like a free form jazz riff.
Yeah.
Let's just improvise here and see how it goes. So, but he's
I
for the task that we have to do, and you worked with him that evening on Women in Sports Night. He does a tremendous job in that respect.
I was absolutely blown away. What he was doing, the way that he was calling things, and granted, I was baptism by fire because you guys have had Paul Porter on the mic for years, who
Legend,
he's a fantastic, but everything is second nature to him. It was he who made up the calls that I'm sitting here trying to replicate on the fly with
right?
names I can barely pronounce for the first time, almost cold reading. But for the way that you're 100% right, and I was in the band, and I think it's a perfect analogy. Like I sat in the orchestra, but the way that he conducts is and conducts the show, produces the show is absolutely that. He has room, to ebb and flow it, but the way not only his ability to do it and do it well, but his command of the staff is just so impressive. And I think that that comes with obviously a lot of reps, but also trusting that Felicia is going to do what she needs to do with the camera angles. And very few times did he even, kind of share notes with her on the fly, as opposed to just letting her do her thing. I mean, and she's fantastic too. The night that I shadowed, I think I went into the control room and I'm standing there in awe because I've never called cameras. I didn't go through the typical matriculation, so to speak, of being a camera person and then maybe producing my own little shorts and then directing. I
Right.
never did any of that. I jumped right into the producer chair, 15,000 feet, and it's like a whole other world.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, and that's where the time and the repetition, as you reference, like Stephen volunteered here for 2 years.
Wow.
Then we made him part-time for 2 years. Then we had him helping out with the morning skate show that we used to do back those years just before COVID. So we were doing a show in the morning and then a show at night. The show in the morning was more like this, very, sort of a
Sure.
recorded discussion with some highlights and graphics in there. And then right around COVID time, just before, just after, we started going on and off. He said, "I want to do what you do," and I said, "Well, you get the headset when it comes down to trust." And he demonstrated right away that he was going to be very committed to it. And now I don't even. I got to be honest with you, just like because when I'm walking the building, unless I'm like it's critical or we have an on ice presentation or there's something that's important to the organization that I want to make sure we put our thumbprint on. Stephen and Felicia are just two trusted lieutenants, and they carry the mail. It's great.
Yeah, that's it. It comes through. And I think, one of the biggest trends I've seen in all of these episodes of Bright Ideas that I've done, both in and out of sports, this season's been pretty much targeted to sports personalities, sports people. But even last year, I mean, it's team building is something that is so important, right? Finding the right talent, just like any team, whether you're on a field, a court, obviously in a control room, in a office, whatever. It's so important. And I'm curious, when you first take a flyer on someone, right? When you first say, all right, well, sure, you can come even volunteer. How do you decide? Like, what are you looking for from that person?
It's funny you say that because I've had so many kids stand in front. I say kids now because I was one of them. So many kids come into here, and we get not just my department, but other departments hire people, and the first thing I say to them is, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And some of them have a very clear, concise, driven, laser focused answer, and then some of them stand there with a vapid, slack jawed. I didn't expect that, like, and that's okay too.
Well,
I
you're not
kid.
going to be a producer.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I say that in that there. I just want to paint a picture of two extremes, and both are fine. Um, but what I gravitate to is that I want to see that laser focused passion that says, I want to do what you do, or I want to do what she does, or I want to do what he does. Because you have to have that passion, especially if you work in this world of whatever it is, game entertainment, presentation. You have to have that passion in you to get you out of your car in the morning. And I use the Rays as a reference. We were in last place every year I was there. Maybe it was me. Uh, but something has to get you out of your car over that marathon of a season to handle, not just the games, but all the other events that we do here and pet projects. Something has to motivate you. Something has to trigger that secret sauce inside of you to make that difference. Otherwise, you're just working a job, and you can work anywhere. You don't have to work
Yeah.
here, work anywhere. So I look for that sort of spark of passion, um, to sort of say that's a kid. I always say around my line here is that kid gets it. I want to
Mm.
see that kid get it. And if you don't get it, that's fine. There's no hard feelings. Do what you got to do. And when I say that kid gets it, it means that this kid or this person wants to get in our boat and row. so to speak, wants to be in our foxhole and understands what it means to have somebody's back. I try to create that foxhole mentality here because I said it earlier. We're not the focus. The game is the thing. You got a ticket to a hockey game, not a ticket to a video show.
Hmm.
So if you can see where you fit in that big puzzle, quickly, and then plus you bring also a creative skill set that just is pretty amazing, and suddenly you're adding your creativity and your ingenuity to what we do. That's what I look for. And those people are invaluable, and they know who they are.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's so important for people to hear, and we'll definitely clip that and put that out in social media so these kids can try to get it. So let's talk about the Tesla coil, because that is one of the coolest things at any live event. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's obviously safe, otherwise it wouldn't be there. But you guys took it to a whole other level. I mean, the Lightning, obviously it makes a ton of sense, but how did you even where'd it come from? Like, how'd you think of it? How'd you get it through legal? How'd you get it
I can't.
installed for God's sake? Like, I mean,
I'm merely the recipient of it. It was the brainchild, I want to say, of Todd Lewicki.
okay.
When Mr. Vinnick purchased the team and he hired Mr. Lewicki as the first CEO here. This is back in 2010. It was, what's our signature element? The Mets had the apple in the hat, right? And
Mhm.
the Astros used to have the exploding scoreboard at the Astrodome. Like, what's that signature element when you score a goal? What's that signature element when you take the ice? We really didn't have one. And luckily for us, I believe that was his vision. All they really did for me, Jess, I'll be honest, they turned over the keys because
Oh,
those were they weren't cheap, right? They were
no.
investment. And Mr. Vinnick, God bless him, he had he saw Todd's vision and they ran with it and they made that purchase. They figured out a way to get him up there. Um, and they are still mesmerizing, 15
Oh
years later.
yeah.
I still stand under them sometimes. It's like, you're a deer in headlights. Now, that being said, you do have to be careful what you wish for because the first iteration of the Teslas, the original model, they would shut down your computer mouse, they would shut down your intercoms,
No
they would
way.
shut down, they would interfere. It's like electrical noise.
Right.
They would screw up ESPN's cameras when they were here. Um, they
Of course they did.
once they shut down a whole Sony-based TV truck because it was nobody knew.
Right.
They would screw with the monitors that the coaches were using to replay games,
Oh my goodness.
replay clips after a close call. I'm trying to think of all the other things they messed up on me. They would shut down a projector or two during when I would be in the middle of ice projection, and there we are in the blackout. But
Right.
use the blackout as a perfect segue. Um, they are amazing. And they are on brand, as you suggest. They bring lightning to life, and they look so much better in the dark. So that's where we truly maximize their effectiveness, which is in that blackout sequence of bringing the team out onto the ice. You don't really
Yeah.
notice them so much when we score because the lights are up and the place is blinking, and we're not going to turn the lights out on the players. But during the blackouts and the intermissions where we come and go to the ice, and at the end of the game when we celebrate a win, they're just they're perfect. And
Yeah.
it's we have our little Frankenstein switch that we use for to turn them on. So it's just a cool little gimmick that's uniquely ours. Maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think they have it. So we'll have a handshake there that we're the only two teams who could ever use Teslas. Maybe the San Diego Chargers, but I don't know how you do that in a football stadium where so
Yeah. That's a cool story because normally it's the opposite of like, hey, we have this idea, now you go make it happen. So that's
yeah,
kind of
they
nice.
they did it the right way. They went to the people who do this for a living. There's a company in Texas that installed them, and we still use them to this day. In fact, I have to email them to get in here. I want to try to see if we can affix a lightning logo or a lightning bolt to the bottom of them moving forward.
Hmm.
And it's that we could light with some cool blue light, so it gives it a little more spunk.
It'd be cool to have, those the chains that hang down that they actually go out to, like those were the lightning. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would also be unsafe to your other point. So
Yeah, I
we'll
mean,
we'll stay away from that one.
minor detail, I guess. So how does something like, I mean, I was, I think it's so cool. If I can get a video of it, maybe we can splice it in here somehow, splice from like 1982 or whatever. But um, the way that game day comes together, and you talk about it, the blackout, the thunder, the fans are known as the thunder, be the thunder, bring the thunder. And then the coils, and then the team comes out. I mean, it's just such a cool
And
progression.
that's the idea, and that's what Stephen will spend his day and his nights sort of laboring over, is to make sure that that has that flow. Like I said a while back, that it has that seamlessness, I guess is the better word. But it's on paper, and you had a script in your hands or on your iPad. It's down to the second.
Yeah,
So and to be fair, we are blessed with a crew that's been with us for a long time. There's not a lot of rookies on our game night crew.
right.
Christoph, the organist, has been with us now 12 years. He's the one who
Yeah,
triggers the thunder bump, the thunder sounds. Um, Greg Wolf, our MC, he's been with us, 16, 17 years. Paul Porter, 32 years. Sonia Bryson, 13 seasons now, or 15 seasons since I asked her to sing the anthem for that first time. And look at that moment, what that's
yeah,
become. So we have a lot of what we'll call uh, in our control rooms as well. People on the switcher, Ed Botker, who
I do.
Dorian, who runs our LED screens, has been here since I've been here since 2008, maybe longer.
Wow.
And he triggers those goal moments, and where all the screens light up at once. He's got to be ready. Like we have our lighting guys, Scotty, who runs our lighting crew up in the catwalk, who you didn't see, but you saw his work.
Right.
He's got his crew. He's been here 18, 20 years. So there's a real good second nature machine like mojo that we have that maybe some other teams don't. I'm sure they do, but we're blessed to still have that here, so we don't have to like have a retrainee at key positions. But we did have a rookie in the control room this year. She did the stats for us, Casey, and she did a great job. She's money.
Yeah. That's
Um,
awesome.
so yeah, so our playback operator Lisa, she's been here again as long as I have, and we've progressed her into that role over time. Yeah, we're blessed to have a crew, a guy Zach who runs our replays. He's already been here 20 years.
Golly.
So we're blessed to have that. So we use that to our advantage to that exact point, which is to make it as seamless as possible.
Yeah, I always tell like students and everything, I say, look, and especially like PA and the stuff that's very prominent, it's if you're doing it right, no one's gonna
No one
notice it.
notices. Yep, that's
But the
exactly right.
minute you screw it up, if people know your name and you
Yeah,
haven't been there 30 some odd years, then there's a problem.
yeah, and that's exactly it. Is you want to be the man behind the curtain. It's not about you. I'll say it again. It's
Right.
about the game. You need to be invisible. But at the same time, you don't see your heart, but you need it to be beaten. So it's kind of
Exactly.
like that. We're under the skin here. We're behind the curtain. The only front facing people are the people I just mentioned. They sort of carry the mail in terms of being your identity a little bit. And that's why having them here for so long is great, because it's like comfort food, it's like family. I'm coming back to an arena where I'm going to hear Paul's goal calls, or I'm going to see Greg do his fun stuff on the ice. It's it's
Yeah.
it's comfort food.
Well,
You
and
know,
I one of the coolest things I saw was the way the setup really, the PA, the DJ, producer, and sound are sitting in an open area in the stands. It's super cool. And at first I was like, oh my God, like that's crazy. But then I see the guys who sit in the section above shaking hands and high-fiving Sean, the DJ, DJ Bolt, right? Or, hugs for Paul Porter in the middle of pregame. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like, again, going back, hockey's just different, man. It's so different.
yep. It
I
has
love it.
there's definitely a familial sense of when you see ushers and fans in this building, they're like brothers and sisters or cousins and uncles of it feels that way. When I walk the building, I see our guest services people connecting with their fans in such a very genuine, welcoming way. It's probably our highest scoring component of our overall company score is our customer service,
Oh, I love
which
that.
is off the charts. And we sort of they're the first point of contact.
Yeah.
So when people meet them and they're walking through, so it's almost like a give and go. They come in off the plaza, they see their favorite usher, they come into the bowl, they sit in their favorite seat, they hear their favorite announcer, they hear their favorite anthem singer, they see their favorite, in-game feature, whatever that might be. So it has like a progression of experience. It's like when you go to Disney. You go to Disney World, you might walk down Main Street, you're going to see the same theater, that little black and white theater with Mickey Mouse, and then you
Right.
roll over to Adventureland or to Tomorrowland, and there's still things that you experienced when you were a kid that are still there. So it's kind
Right.
of got that progression, but yet they freshen it up and they'll put in a new attraction, and that's kind of like goes back to where we started our conversation. It's kind of like our mindset.
I love it. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken that paid off or that fell flat and you never did again?
Too many to count. But one thing that still survives today, and it's a moment. And I remember when I first thought of it because I stole the idea outright from the Minnesota Wild. When I first came over from baseball to hockey, I was like, the Lightning, they just won the cup, but we don't. This is 2008. We don't have traditions. I haven't seen the games that I came to. Where's the traditions? So we needed to start to create that. And one of the ones we did was with the Thunder Kid. Uh,
Yeah.
and it happens every night. I saw it in Minnesota, and all the kid really did was he came out, he put a flag at center ice, and we are the state of hockey. Big deal. So I said
Yeah.
we can do that better. No offense to my friends in Minnesota. I'm like, we can do that better. And lightningize the idea. So we just we said, what if the kid skates around and we have these light up flag sticks behind them, and we use Thunderstruck. We you
Yeah.
know we play Thunderstruck, and then we get
The kid's
that's right.
pumping his
Well, that was also it dovetailed with deciding to have be the Thunder be our call to action. So it's like, what if we do that? And now what do we have to do to make that happen? We have to put an 8-year-old who's never been in front of probably more than 20 people in his or her life now is going to be out there in front of thousands of people doing something that he could slip at any moment. And we've had a few
Oh,
slips. We've had a few slips too because the ice is very wet. They just Zamboni it before the team comes out.
yeah.
But it's worked and it's been a tradition. And every time you hear the first lick of that guitar and the kid is out there doing his thing, it's ours. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it still survives. So that was one I'm really proud of that we were able to make it work. And our community hockey department is great at providing the kids. And now the players' kids want to do it. I think Corey Perry's kid did it. Who else did it? Did Stammer's kid do it? No. So many of the players' kids. Ryan McDonough's kids did it this year. In
Mm.
fact, he did it the night we had his 1,000th game celebration. So it was really cool.
Oh.
And he skates right over and he's in his little uniform. It was awesome.
Oh, that's
So
so cute.
it's now part of the family. The Lightning family is as things to do. Um, Zach Bogosian's daughter did. Like so many players' kids have now done it,
Yeah.
and then they get to stand on the ice and for the national anthem with their dad, which is
Right.
even cooler. You
That
know,
is cool. Oh man, yeah, I did. And it's funny again, I get caught up in hockey because I'm not really a hockey fan. I don't go to many games, but even the couple of nights when I was there, I get caught up in it, which is rare for me. It's very rare that I can enjoy a game without thinking of every little thing that goes into it.
right?
And you forget, you don't even realize all the little pieces that go into something like a little kid skating around a circle. Okay, well, yeah, but like to your point, that kid's never been in front of 50 people, let alone 20,000 people.
Exactly, and they doesn't matter. It doesn't even phase them. You almost have to have that kid's mentality, like, oh, okay, whatever, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And
Why
some
not?
of them get so jazzed up and they go like this. Come on, get on your feet, like
Oh
it's
yeah. And
and
people love it. People love it and they buy
oh,
in
100%,
and they're on their feet and they're cheering just for that kid the way that they're going to cheer for the Lightning when they come out. It's a beautiful thing.
100%, and I'm glad it's lasted this long. So,
Yeah,
passing
absolutely.
the U.S. flag, installing Sonia to be our regular anthem singer. Um, it's just good stuff. The gag we do at the end of Kiss Cam, everybody knows it's coming, but we do it anyway. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like traditions are an amazing thing. Some of them are organic, like the Thunder Kid, and some just sort of pop up. We'll see where the future takes us there.
Yeah, I was blown away by the final score of each period. No matter what the score is, the fans have their own idea of what the score is.
That's a perfect example of just something that's become organic, and it's only because probably one night Paul decided to, take a little pause.
Well, he warned me and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then I said it and they went thunder and I was like, "What?" He was for real? I thought he was gagging me. Like I thought it was like a joke.
Yeah, it it's a thing now, right?
Yeah, I love it. It's so on brand too, because it's
And
like I love it.
and that's what other teams like Nashville, especially, back in the day when they came into the league, they leaned on a lot of that, and a lot of that carries over today for them. But you hear other teams has their own, mostly during national anthem moments, and I think Vegas has got it down now where the crowd just goes sit, sit, sit after a penalty. So
Mm,
everybody develops their own sort of thing.
yeah. Those are the things that make it special though. So it's
Oh,
it's
exactly.
nice to be part of it.
Yep.
Very well, John, this has been so much fun talking to you. Things I didn't know. I did not know you got your start in baseball. I don't know how I didn't know that, but I didn't. But this has been super fun. Thank you so
Cool.
much for taking the time to be on my podcast. How should people get in touch with you? Should they get in touch with you? Are you
Yeah, if
are you
there's
big
any,
on social media?
no, you know what? I don't mess around in that world. I just can't. I'm too old school. If someone has a question, they can just email me. Email's
I
about
thought
as
you were gonna say write you a letter.
my wife makes fun of me. She'll say, "You're in technology. You're in show business. How do you know?" I just can't. Me and fundamentally, I have a problem with social media, but it's a very effective tool, and it does what it needs to do. Like it's a means of communicating. We produce so much content for it that
Yeah.
you have to be respectful of it. So, but I don't generally engage that way. I'm on it, but I use it to snoop. I don't use it to engage. Um, I use it to see what other teams do and what other people are up to, but I don't engage. So email is my best way, jfranzone@vinixsportsgroup.com.
All right, we'll get that out there.
Old school, my friends. That's what the gray hair is for. So,
Listen, I love it. And I mean, when you said you joined the Lightning in 2008, I'm sitting here thinking, huh, Facebook only got started at Harvard in 2008
right.
or late 2007. So your career at the Lightning came up with
And
Facebook
and and to
and
be fair,
everything else.
that's where having my Stephen and Felicia, who bring that sensibility of that generation, who now is, in their late 20s, early 30s, to apply those tools to our presentation. Um,
Right.
so, and you have to go with that. You have to respect that too, because you have to listen to someone like Steven who says, we have to freshen up our music. Well, I was calling the show, so what's the music choice going to be? Predominantly, it's going to be classic rock because that's my comfort zone, right?
Sure.
I'm not as familiar with today's pseudo music, but these kids are. I kid, it's great music.
Are you?
But they but they are. So you have to respect that. No, and they'll say this will work. This will work during the game. People know what this is, and I'm like, yeah, sure. And then sure as shoot, I'll walk the building, and they go through the moment, and I see people engaging. I see eyes on the screen. It's funny when I walk the building. I don't look at the show. I look at the people looking at the show to
Yeah.
see if it's hitting the mark. Or are they like this? Are they looking on their phones and eating their popcorn, or are they engaged with what we're doing? And it's very subjective. It's hard to evaluate that, um, because it's not a direct return on investment. So that's where I go back to, we don't, you want to design for memory, but you also more so want to design for what they'll remember. So
Mm.
the question isn't so much what they're going to experience. That's the what. It's are they going to remember it? And that goes back to how we go about doing it. So it's that marriage of what and how that, when you hit it right down the middle, that's your best pitch. That's your home run swing. That's your slap shot. So
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. What
could
a
I
note
teach
to
could I
end.
teach a course in this stuff or what?
How are you not?
We're working on that.
Yeah, well, if I can be of any help, you let me know.
There's a big stadium going up, being built up the street.
What?
Feels like they need a teacher, but we'll
Yeah.
worry about that later.
Feels like there's new blood coming in, so there could be a
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah.
Well,
So
time will tell on that one. John Franzone, thank you again so much for being on
thanks for
Bright
having me. It's I'm blessed here. It's the off season. We're not playing hockey, although on my TV right now I'm watching the replay of the Oilers and the Panthers, and I have to be honest with you, I really would love to be saying I can't do this because we have game 5 tonight here at the building, but maybe next year.
Yeah, listen, I mean, that would put a Florida team in there 7 years in a row. I mean, it's a
Is that
little
crazy?
absurd. It's
Crazy.
nuts. I can feel the seething envy coming from everyone I ever hear talk about it who's not a Floridian.
Yeah,
Um,
it's true.
but
And they're
yeah,
good. They're a good team too.
I was watching that game that you're replaying now, and I watched like 10 minutes of it because again, not a huge fan. But
It's
I'm
hard.
watching it.
It's hard to watch.
They are very good though. That
Yeah,
Florida team is tough.
they remind me of us. Vazzy said it in his postseason exit interviews. He said they remind me of how we played in 2021, and it just takes a nudge to get back to that, and we're right there.
Yeah.
So here's hoping for next season.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we will talk soon. You guys are watching Bright Ideas. Be sure to subscribe, to like, follow, all the stuff. But we will see you on the next episode. Thanks, guys.